This conference will now be recorded.
Well, thank you all for joining me on November the 15th, Monday. As most of you know, we do this meeting every other Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time here in the U.S. And I say that because we've been attracting people from different places in the U.S. as well as international, which is always a lot of fun. The meeting basically has three parts. We'll start with a round of introductions. I will mute everybody so to avoid background noise and unmute people one at a time. So please take a minute or two to introduce yourself to the rest of the group. Say what you do, maybe what a good referral would be for you, maybe what part of the country you're in. After we go through our round of introductions, usually that triggers some questions or some follow-up comments or something from anybody to anybody. So we'll have a couple of minutes of just follow-up questions and comments and interactions based on the introduction. And usually after that, we still have a little bit of time left for general business discussion. So any topic is fair game, as long as it's somehow business related. And I was trading emails with Paolo earlier today. We certainly don't have a shortage of business topics to talk about, and I think they're all very interesting. And since we've started on time, and I thank you all for being very punctual, I will try to end on time, which is somewhere between 45 to 55 minutes after the hour. In case some of you have another meeting, another video chat starting in the hour, gives you at least 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes maximum to kind of refresh and do some text messages, emails, phone calls, and get ready for your next meeting. So that's our agenda for today. Oh, one last thing before I turn it over to somebody else. Please put your contact information in the chat. Later tonight, when I email a link to the video on YouTube, I will also email whatever you put in the chat. So if you want to put your phone, your email, your LinkedIn profile, company profile, whatever. And conversely, if you don't want me to email it to everybody, don't put it in the chat. All right, here we go. Well, and we have a new person here is James King, and I'm just going in the order that I say people, and hopefully this is not too unfair. So, James, if you just want to take a minute or two, and again, introduce yourself to the rest of the group, please. And I think you're muted from your side. Because I show you unmuted from my side. Okay, I'll tell you what. You try to figure that out. We'll come back to you. Don't worry. We're not going to skip you. As a matter of fact, I'll leave you unmuted from my side. Jennifer, are you there? You want to go? Oh, Jennifer may have stepped out. All right, we'll keep going.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay,
I
go
can
for it,
go.
Jennifer. Thank you.
I just have so much going on. Okay, my name's Jennifer Lau. I run Gemlaw Agency. I troubleshoot to non-governmental organizations all over the world. It was my husband and I, Special Forces combat vet. We both worked the company. The original company was Global Fundraising Consultants, and it was started in Florida. We are now both in different parts of West Virginia because he still travels internationally. I haven't left the country in a few years. I'm a little bit apprehensive about flying with COVID and cabin, recirculated air. So basically, I try to help anyone with their networking requests or put them on a team for more work. My contact information is in the chat, and I can be reached at www.jenlough agency.com, genlowagency.com.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. James, you want to try to unmute and see if it works now?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes.
All right. So good. So yeah, my name is James King, and I work in financial services. I work for Northwestern Mutual. I'm sure many of you might have heard of it. I started a role where I'm going out and just building rapport with people to see if they just want to get their financial goals or personal goals and meet with them. It's a two-step process where I come with them and I meet and we talk about if they have retirement plans or investment portfolios, or if they have, just debt or if they want to get a mortgage, start a family, continue to support their family, and just the general plan for what they have or what they have future plans are 5, 10, 20 years from now. And I take it back to my team and we build a plan and we present that plan to them. And it may recommend certain insurance policies or offer what kind of investment portfolio we can manage for them, or just any kind of plan for just a budget or a financial portfolio. And that's my role. And I've just recently started. I'm currently trying to network and see just what general professions of people who are interested in, or even if we come out just having a general professional relationship, if it doesn't lead to becoming a client, that's also something I'm open to. And just in that early process right now.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. Don't forget to put your contact information in the chat. And let's see, I will move down to Keith. Same thing. If you want to take a minute or two and introduce yourself to the rest of the group, please.
Sure, thanks, Sal. I appreciate you guys having me here. My name is Keith Graffman. I'm the co-founder of Creative Content Consulting. We specialize in personal and professional branding. The easiest way to kind of break down what we do is our bread and butter is really in career consulting and personal branding for professionals. So, it could be job seekers, executives, as well as entrepreneurs, helping typically with a lot of resumes, CVs, cover letters, LinkedIn profiles, executive bios. Certainly not limited to that, but I think what really differentiates our business is how we connect the dots between your personal and professional brand, really bridging that gap. So how we do that is I'm actually also an online dating expert, which is a pretty unique area of expertise in my field. And in addition to that, what makes our business very unique is our partnership. So with my background online dating and ad sales and my business partner, I used to hold a director level title with an economic consulting firm. We take a very unique approach that really focuses on helping map people's relevant skill sets and with concrete examples that show how they've been able to solve relevant challenges and address pain points based on what they're positioning themselves for, to really highlight kind of what makes them unique and stand out.
All right, perfect. Excellent. I suspect Keith is going to get some questions in our second round here, so we'll see. Okay, I'm going right down my list here. Mike, are you there? Mike Mosteller.
Yeah, I am. Not sure why, but I don't see anybody else. So I kind of turned off my camera to save bandwidth. But anyway, folks, I've been able to help a lot of people in business. The problem is there are still more out there. Business owners who've taken the risk and the plunge to join us all in this crazy world of entrepreneurship. But many of them are working way too many hours for way too little money. I help those business owners who have used up their own toolkit to get their business where it is by connecting them with the tools and frameworks that I've used to grow businesses into the hundreds of millions and even to $1 billion. I'd love to meet with folks who are in this boat so I can get them off the hamster wheel and on to next where their business belongs. Thank you. Mike Mosteller, Buckeye Business Performance.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. And now we're moving down our list to a new person that's joining us, but I know is going to be coming to a lot of the meetings in the rest of this year and next year. And I'll be very honest, I'm very excited to have Paolo here because I always think that even if it's just networking or running a business, you always have to bring in the people that can help you with your weaknesses. And I will tell you, I am terrible at real estate. Residential real estate, commercial real estate. I bought a couple of houses because I had to for living. And I was lucky enough that when I sold them, I think I broke even in one and had a small loss in the other. So real estate is not my area of expertise, but we're lucky we have Paolo. So Paolo, if you could take a minute or two and introduce yourself and tell the folks kind of what you do and what you can help them with and how they can help you.
No, absolutely. And again, thanks for the intro, Sal, and thank you for the invitation to join the group. Again, my name is Paolo Agostinelli. The name of my company is Equitas Funding Group. Essentially, we're a real estate investment firm, and we buy, renovate, and rent single-family and commercial properties. What differentiates us is that we take a very consultative approach when working with property owners in order to maximize the benefit that they receive from a sale, which is a little bit different. There's a lot of people running around out there making silly offers on properties, but I based on my background and consulting and product development and product marketing, I've always had to take a very consultative approach to coming up with the best solution for a property owner, whether it's to minimize capital gains or vacancy issues or whatever the property owner is trying to accomplish. There's too many examples to talk about on here, but we basically solve real estate problems. And to that, I do mostly work on referrals. So that's, James, for example, if I work with financial advisors a lot, attorneys, brokers, mortgage brokers, real estate brokers. But for example, if you have a client who, has, they need, for example, if you're managing their retirement account and they need to take a withdrawal, which is not what they want to do because of a housing issues, there's different things we could do based on their specific need to customize a sale to maximize the benefit they receive for it. So they don't have to wreck their retirement savings, just as one little example. Just a couple other comments about what else we do. We also do work with municipalities, local community groups, nonprofits to identify their most pressing needs when it comes to eliminating vacant, blighted, and abandoned properties in their community. I'm located in Western Pennsylvania. This is where I do most of my work and my projects. And I'll just mention the city of Pittsburgh, for example, has over 30,000 blighted and abandoned properties within their city limits, which is very important because of the financial health and safety toll that the effect on people's health and affordability and community safety, and it's significant, with indirect and direct costs of those issues. And we also work with private investors who want to invest in our projects. Mostly people who want to diversify their investments, whether diversify their stock market investments, and people who are looking to invest in something that's backed by a hard real estate asset. In addition to my company, I also am a member of the Pittsburgh Real Estate Investment Association, Pittsburgh REIA, REIA for short. And I lead the commercial real estate subgroup, which is basically a networking group of real estate investors, landlords, agents, insurance brokers, financial planners, small business owners who either own or lease their real estate. It's a pretty wide, pretty significant group located here in Western Pennsylvania that I'm proud to be associated with, and to really just help facilitate transactions and goals. So again, I'd like to thank Sal for including me in this forum. Look forward to working with everyone, learning about everyone's businesses, sharing ideas, and again, helping each other out to accomplish our goals and the goals of people in our own network. So thank you again, everyone, and looking forward to this.
Fantastic, Paolo. Thank you. And I suspect Paolo's going to get some questions at the end too, but we'll keep going. And now from Ireland, I love it. Patrick, how are you? And same thing, if you could take a minute or two to introduce yourself. Oh, I think you're muted from your side, Patrick. Hold on, let me try to unmute you here.
Hold on. Now I'm okay. Hello, thank you for being a wonderful host, Sal, as usual, and to meet Rhoda again, and I think I met Jennifer a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't come last week because the time was changed and I missed it. Anyway, but look at, I wrote, I got Sal's book, right? You got to get it, folks. And I wrote an appraisal of it, and I couldn't put it up on YouTube, on Amazon. They said I wasn't worthy or something. And look at, if this book, it's a small book, you can carry it around in your pocket, and it's unbelievable the way the terminology, easy to read, and excellent. You know, it connects it connects the physical and the mental. You know, it's just wonderful. But to tell you what I do, I'm here to tell you about that the age of molecular medicine is now with us, and it has dawned and is expressed in the science of redox signaling molecules, giving hope and control, and what it could mean for you and those you know. This science is in essence the science of life, and the challenge is to believe that this science applies to you, because the health of every system in the body begins at a cellular level. Every second of every day, our cells are passing tremendous amounts of information throughout the body, and any breakdown in that signaling and communication, we cannot be fully healthy. For example, when we receive signals in relation to being hungry, thirsty, or tired, fed up, emotional, and when we need to go to the bathroom, these are wonderful signals that we need. But those are the conscious ones. The unconscious ones would be that our hearts are beating and our lungs are working, and when we eat food, our pancreas switches on to metabolize the food. So the discovery of redox signaling is one of the most important breakthroughs of our lifetime. These molecules are at the deepest cellular signaling ever discovered, enabling cells to respond to the impact of their changing environment, and the difference it is making in most people's lives is absolutely astonishing. For many people, this is now the missing link for better health and vitality. It's independently validated, it's 100% non-toxic, enabling us to have a real advantage. You and those you know deserve to know about this breakthrough, particularly those with a health challenge, people who are health conscious, or those interested in generating an additional income stream, now in 33 countries, opening up tremendous financial opportunity. This may not be for you, but who springs to mind? My thanks to you all for enabling me to understand what you are doing and the gift of your attention. My details are in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Patrick. And thank you very much for your kind words on the book, by the way. Greatly
It's
appreciate
brilliant. I mean, this should be a must, you know, in everybody's Christmas stocking.
There you go. Hey, Christmas stocking gift. I like it. Well, listen, coming back to the US, and now we go to Indianapolis. And I know, by the way, I think, James, you're down in DC. Is that correct? Okay,
Correct.
excellent. And anyway, coming back to the US, last but not least, we have Rhoda in Indianapolis.
Hi, everyone. It's a cold day in Indianapolis. Winter has arrived. My business is Say It For You, and for the past 14 years, my team and I have been writing what you've been reading when you go on our clients' websites. So we are content producers, ghost bloggers, and consultants to small business and some very large businesses as well, all through the US and Canada. We are all here, the team is all here in Indiana, but the clients are all over the place. And the idea of a consistent blog is that most business owners and organization leaders do not have the time to both do it and say it. And that is why when you go on the typical website and you click on the tab that says blog, it's 50% likely that the last entry is more than 6 months old. So they don't have updated content, and that's where we come in. So we become their sous chefs, and we cook up the content that comes from the way that they do business and the beliefs that they have. So we say it for you.
Fantastic. Well, here we go. So now everybody's unmuted from my side. Does anybody have any questions for anybody else based on the introductions? Actually, I'll sneak in one real quick. Host privilege. Keith, where are you geographically?
That's what I was saying.
I'm based out of Bergen County, New Jersey.
Okay, so we got people, we got Indianapolis, we got Pittsburgh, we got Washington, D.C., we got Ireland. This is fantastic. Oh, Columbus. Mike Musteller is out in Columbus. All right. Any questions, any comments from anybody to anybody?
So the first word out of your mouth, Keith, I could not hear. I know you said something about consultant, but the word that came before that sounded like grant.
Oh, sorry about that. Couldn't have been a little further off than that. I said I'm the co-founder of Creative Content Consulting, or a co-founder for that matter. Creative Content Consulting. So.
Okay. That's related in good part to what I do as well.
Yeah. So, who are your typical types of clients?
I personally like to write for attorneys. So I have 3 different legal blogs of 3 different types of law that I'm writing. So that's one. And then we have a CPA firm. We have a trucking company, a construction company, just to give you an idea, a metaphysical school out of Canada. I mean, just a variety of many, many different things. And then we have a meeting planner, so that it's a great variety.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like a healthy mix. Sounds like we work on very different types of content, but sounds like it could be very complementary, actually.
Yeah.
Although we could write blogs, I don't really enjoy writing blogs. I mean, I like to really work on personalizing like the brand, like the personal brand. So the closest that we would get to that would be like a business's value proposition or personal website content or the executive bio, but not really blogs.
Yeah, obviously the challenge in blogging is that last week I wrote blog number 500.
Wow.
For one of my clients. So think about that. It's once a week. They own the copyright to the material. And that also means that no one is the same as any other one. So I have 500 once a week blog posts on basically the same set of topics. That's the trick. So it's, it's as boring, but it's actually a gigantic challenge.
Oh, I can appreciate that. I can very much appreciate that. To have to continue developing new relevant information. It's definitely an ongoing challenge for sure.
All right, Keith, now I'm curious. I'm going to ask you, because at one point, I think you said you're also like an online dating consultant.
I am.
And
so
I guess my question is do you help people with their pictures, with the little bio they put up, maybe even choosing what online platform to use? I'm just curious about that. And it's certainly, I don't want to say an unusual line of business, because I think now people are doing so much online dating that all the services around it are coming around. But anyway, just would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's, I think it's definitely a unique differentiator. I mean, sure, there's always going to be plenty of blacksmiths out there that either do or claim to do something similar or the same as something else that someone else does, but we're a premium service. So I'll say that first and foremost. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, when I say premium, I'm not just talking about the price, because the price is really a reflection of the value. But so the easiest way to start, best place to start is I actually wrote the only book that teaches online daters how to project personality through instant message. It's called The Art of Instant Message, and it's it's not a how to get laid book, so I don't want to get any ideas out there, but it's really setting jokes aside, it's really about, it's centered around the philosophy of how to transliterate your personality to be the best version of you while being honest, so that you spend all that time getting to know somebody online and then on the phone and then through text and email, whatever it might be, that when you meet, they're meeting you. Meaning, unless you've completely been dishonest about your pictures and what you look like, how old you are, or anything else, unless you've completely catfished somebody, it's pretty much incredibly unlikely that there won't be attraction or rapport or, the foundation to facilitate companionship. So it's really about establishing a philosophy that will allow you to find companionship. And that same theory that I developed in that book about a digital footprint or digital presence that's relevant, distinctive, and consistent is the backbone for our whole business. So being an online dating expert is consistent, there's a lot of things that are involved in it. But so your question was kind of had multiple parts. So we do work with the photographer, and not just limited to one, but our photographer that we typically work with, he's an incredibly exclusive celebrity photographer. Since we're being recorded, I can't really mention names, but I assure you that everyone here has heard of a lot of his clients. And, the designer that we work with, used to be the global art director for Gap. We work with, sensational, video producer as well, works on a really impressive stuff there as well. And so the services that go into this are, there's a series of them, so yes, we would consult with them on pictures. We'd connect them if need be with someone that would help provide that service on, as far as their content, because content comes in many forms. It's going to be the profile, right? It's going to be the information that makes you stand out, that represents the you that you want to put out there. The interesting thing about how this connects to the rest of our business is you're a person, you're a brand, right? So whether you're looking for a job, looking for a date, trying to get into college or grad school, or one of us, you're an entrepreneur launching a product, service, or business, you're still a brand, right? And so you're not going to write the same thing in every channel, but you're a brand. So you need to be the same. You need to be the same person. You just have to tell that story. You have to tell that story so that is relevant across those channels, consistent across those channels. So I hope that answers your question. But yeah, it's a lot of dating profiles and then making sure that people feel comfortable being themselves and don't put themselves in a situation where they can't, live up to who they are.
And Keith, can I ask, when you're assessing individuals, and you might discover that some people's ego is bigger than their principles. And how then do you match? Somebody with an enormous ego is not really in balance. They're it's all about them. So do you say, look, if we can't handle you, your ego is too big?
It's a good question. I pride myself on customer service and customer experience. So there's a professional way of sharing feedback with people. Now, if there's not a good fit, I'm going to be direct and tell someone there's not a good fit. And I've had to tell clients in that area of our business that there wasn't a good fit before. Because quite frankly, if you're not in it for genuine reasons and you're not being honest and you don't have realistic expectations, I'm going to tell someone. Because if there's not, if the expectations are not mutually understood, then it's not going to be a good arrangement, not going to be a good relationship. So there are certainly people with, I'd say, egos that are just too big for them. Yes. And in that particular case, they're going to have challenges and maybe they might need therapy. And that's not where I specialize in. So I might refer them somewhere else. But when it comes to being the best version of you, that's kind of what I could speak to. I do, just in case I get hit with the time constraint here, I do hear my my daughter's crying, so I might have to jump off in a minute. Just heads up. I did leave my contact information here, though, just in case that happens.
All right, perfect. And Keith, like I said, we record the whole meeting, so if you want to see the the rest of it, please feel free and please join us again in 2 weeks. James, I want to just ask you a question, and again, I'll open it up for anybody to ask any questions of anybody, but we kind of skipped that real quick. I know from when you signed up, I believe you're in the Washington, D.C. area. Is that true? Are you originally from there? Or if not somewhere else? And I know you're relatively, you're still a young person starting out your career, but have you had a situation where you've had to reject a client for whatever reason that hey, it's just not a good fit with me personally with the practice? So kind of 3 questions. I'll let you answer all of them.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so I have lived in the DC area my whole life, and in my limited time, I have had experience dealing with clients who, not in this field, but in older occupations, where it would be where over some time they say, I can't afford it, or uh, this isn't the right thing for me. I know how to deal with that, and you just keep moving on, or if there's some kind of contact that we can maintain long term, even if it's just personal, that's also fine by me. I'll respect people's reasons for not wanting to continue. But yeah, definitely. And you said you had a third question?
No. It was the first one is, where are you in DC? Are you originally from DC?
Oh,
And then this whole issue of the client. So I think you kind of covered all of them.
yeah. Yep.
Thank you. All right. Well, any questions from anybody to anybody based on the introductions? Oh, Patrick, I see you speaking, but you're muted.
I'm concerned about Rhoda, that if she's doing all these connections every week, that she's bionic. She doesn't sleep. She doesn't need to sleep. She's on some substance that we should all know about.
Oh, Rhoda, you're muted.
My secret sauce is dancing. So I'm a square dancer and a ballroom dancer, and I think that cures all my ills, from the other things.
All right, wait a minute. Now you got me curious on one thing. Your last blog post for the metaphysical company up in Canada, what did you say more or less, if you remember?
We designed, literally, a graphic artist that we had hired, let's say it for you, redesigned her website. And this is an internationally known personality that runs schools, online schools about metaphysics, and they're year-long courses or 2-year-long courses that people sign up for. And so the descriptions were very cryptic. It was very hard to understand if you weren't already there what this was about. So our goal was to make it readable, to make it enticing, to find out more about how the physical interacts with the metaphysical. So it was a very, very unusual assignment. And the woman who did the writing and the interacting, to show you how interesting a thing this is a dog walker and a yoga teacher with absolutely no background in metaphysics. But she was able to connect with this other woman and really find the right words.
Huh.
Wow.
That's incredible. That's very interesting.
I have a question actually for you, Ron. Is it Rhoda?
Yeah.
Okay, Rhoda. So is developing websites, is that a big part of what you do, or is that just,
No,
kind of?
it's a very secondary part. So sometimes we're actually working for an agency where the agency is doing the web development, and what we are not focused on is the technology piece. So we're doing SEO conscious writing, but not SEO.
Okay.
We're not delivering analytics. That's not our piece of the work. So we're focusing on the understanding and the wordsmithing. That's our corner. So you and I ought to talk,
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I don't want to single anyone out. There are definitely a number of people that I'm going to be connecting with everyone here as long as I could find you on LinkedIn. And please find me on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, there definitely seems to be quite a bit of synergy there.
Yeah. Oh, and again, don't forget to put your contact information in the chat because I'll email that out to everybody. So Rhoda, I know is very good, and I always make sure Rhoda's stuff is in there. Hey, Paolo, a question for you. I know the infrastructure bill is maybe literally getting final signature from the president as we speak.
Mhm.
So I guess on the one hand, I keep hearing that maybe real estate is overvalued. And I know it's all local, so you can tell me about relative to Pittsburgh and maybe if you can relative about the whole country. But on the one hand, sometimes I hear it's overvalued. Now I'm thinking the infrastructure investments are going to have a positive impact on real estate, right?
Mhm.
So net over the next 6 to 12 months, do you think real estate will be a good investment, or do you think you have to be careful? Which side are you falling on over the next 6 to 12 months? And we won't.
I'm on all sides right now, and let me explain. So, it's difficult when you anytime, for example, there's a lot of every now and then someone will send me an article based on whether it's something regulatory, something going on with another macroeconomic aspect of the economy, and they'll say, well, based on this one data point, how do you think things are going to react to that? And obviously, there's a lot of push and pulls. I think right now there's valuations are certainly is. I mean, I'm only going to speak to Western Pennsylvania here. Valuations are, is I mean, not only just single family houses, but even with commercial properties, for example, they are still, there are certainly premiums on pricing that we haven't seen, and talk about rates of return or cap rates, by those broad metrics, you know, they're pretty, they've, yeah, real estate, it continues to trend upward in terms of property values. Some of the drivers, some of the inflationary pressures are going to continue to cause rents to increase. And the one thing I'll say, and I keep reading this and seeing examples over and over again in Western Pennsylvania, that probably still the two hottest commercial property classes in Western Pennsylvania, and according to CBRE and some other national brokers, is that multifamily and industrial properties are the two hottest sectors right now. I have a lot of friends that are brokers who are, they tell me, if you know anyone selling a 2,000 square foot office that's attached to a 10 or 20,000 square foot warehouse or industrial space with certain power requirements, they have clients for them. So I think inflationary pressures, when it comes to specifically multifamily, I think that's going to continue to accelerate rents. It seems like a lot of, looking at premiums, and we do have, in Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania, we have over the last several years and still now have had a lot of interest with out of state and even out of country buyers. And some of the rates that they are specifically paying, some of the valuation metrics that I see from some of those entities are it doesn't make sense for me and a lot of my partners, and those that I invest with and partner with on deals. So, I don't. Right? We all want to know when the stock market's going to peak or dip. We all want to know when, and there's all these things out there that we keep paying attention to. We keep paying attention to interest rates, right? But at what point does that rise? The Fed's made comments that maybe we're looking at a couple of quarter of a point increases in the prime rate next year. That's something, but not that might cause an increase in interest rates. but not much if based on what they're saying now. But we're middle November 2021, 12 months from now, so much can happen with COVID. Any additional regulation, any additional spending, what spending bill actually passes. So right now, some of the opportunities, from an investment standpoint that I'm seeing locally is are commercial property owners who have an issue. They either have vacancies that they might have significant vacancies in their properties, especially with anything involving office space, for example. And a lot of these properties are not able to be repurposed into something else that has increased value. But because of possibly the price that they paid for the property, they, they paid the valuation that they paid for the property was based on it operating at a certain level. Now the bottom dropped off. Now they can't sell down to where the property is worth now. So there's opportunities, and a lot of what I've been doing is working with commercial property owners to try to figure out, okay, what is, putting a team together to basically help them, which is try to find tenants, try to, talk to them about possible purchase options at maybe a certain price in the future, and let us take control of the property. We'll find tenants. We'll master lease option, for example. Small business owners, they have their own. There's a lot of issues there. I mean, a lot of either small business owners or commercial property owners, they're facing bankruptcy either because the finished business or eviction moratoriums, which are still intact in a lot of areas. That's been pretty devastating for a lot of people. But again, these people are not able to sell at the discount they need to sell in order to justify someone purchasing it at a low occupancy rate. So there's, it's been challenging trying to come up with different, not challenging. I mean, there are certain things out there that could work in terms of, again, a solution to help them, with what their issues are. But Pittsburgh market office. I mean, my friends are telling, my colleagues in commercial, who are brokers, there's so many vacancies, and even traditional areas in Pittsburgh, for example, Oakland area. There's been properties, a few office, spaces there that have been leased for several months. And before COVID, you look at office in the city of Pittsburgh, for example, maybe the downtown business district had a vacancy of 22%. Oakland, 0. I mean, if you owned any office space in Oakland, and it's because of the medical and university. So a lot of these places even after COVID, you still need to be on site for a lot of these medical activities, whether it's dialysis, whether it's physical examinations by your doctors or your specialists, and so on and so forth. So I said a lot of things there. Did I answer your question? I mean, there's certainly opportunities.
You did. I'll open it up, but the only thing that is funny, because COVID is changing everything so much, and what people don't realize that are not maybe in business or intimately in tune with business, a 10-20% change in revenue is huge, up or down. I mean, if you can increase your sales by 10 or 20%, however you do it, your profits are going to be huge. Conversely, if you lose just 10 or 20% of your sales and you have some fixed costs and you don't have and you have a lease and you don't have the opportunity to flex, that could throw you from a healthy business into a business that's about to go under. And, you just reminded me, because, for example, before COVID, if you had for a general checkup, you went to the doctor. Now they're doing all this telemedicine, for stuff that, it's more routine, let's say. So anyway, long story short, 10-20% of the visits to the doctor's offices may not be happening in person, because they're happening in telehealth, and a 10-20% reduction in demand for office space for doctors. That is huge for the overall market.
Yeah,
So
it really is.
Anyway,
right now,
questions from anybody to anybody.
Yeah, Paolo, that's very interesting, and what you were saying is very interesting, Sal. In Europe, particularly in Ireland, the cost of mortgages for residential mortgages is people are not able to afford it because the cost of the house has gone up so much, and the young professionals are being they can't afford it because I don't know whether it's the value of the euro or the value of the dollar. I mean, the dollar has reduced, I believe, since 1971 when it was taken away from the gold standard. I think the value of it now is 97% less than it was then. Now, I don't understand this, but so the buying power of the dollar is gone down. The buying power of the euro is going down. And the people who are the most educated their rents are going up, they can't save, and it's becoming more difficult to get a mortgage. So it's not just in America, it seems to be in other places too. So I'm saying, do you know who's controlling this, Paolo?
Like I said, there's just a lot of forces at play right now. I mean, it's going to be increased government spending, which is, I mean, there's a lot of individuals right now. There's a lot of investors that are paying premiums for pricing, hoping that inflation is going to continue over the next 2 years, so that the valuation of the property in 2 years is what maybe they would have paid for it today. Which I'm not comfortable doing that. With my money or any of my investors' money, I would not feel comfortable doing that. Saying, yeah, we're going to pay a premium here. It's going to be a little tight on cash flow. Any little blip. I mean, just what Sal said. I mean, you reduce, if you have a $500,000 building, for example, and you reduce your net operating income by just $10,000 a year. I mean, that's going to reduce your $500,000 property down to about $420,000 or $400,000. Just a $10,000 reduction, and that's $800 a month. So an $800 a month reduction. I mean, I'm thinking about rough numbers here. Check my math, but yeah, I mean, it's significant. The littlest, and that's the appeal. That's the appeal, especially when people talk about value add. Adding value to commercial, whether it's forced appreciation through renovation, or even just there's a lot of maybe property managers out there who don't manage properties well, and that they have a low occupancy rate. But if you're able to increase that that net operating income by just 10%, and it's an $800,000 building, well, you just increase your property value by $80,000 just by increasing that $60,000 or $80,000 net profit a year building by 10%. So I'm expecting property values to continue to run. It's tough to identify peaks. It's tough to identify valleys, but I don't see. I mean, there's on the single family side. I mean, there's a significant number of property owners who are 90 days late on their mortgages, for example. I mean, there's an increase in commercial as well, but those loans are structured a little bit differently, but not quite to what we saw in 2002 or 2008 or 2009. But there's especially with the eviction moratoriums, especially with the foreclosure moratoriums for certain for government-backed loans. I mean, all that's pending, and it's going to take a while for that to get through the system. Banks aren't going to be able to foreclose on all those right now, or whenever they're able to, because they can't have a certain amount of bad debt on their books. So they're going to have to take their time, because if they have a certain amount of bad debt, then that decreases the liquidity, that decreases the amount that they're able to loan by government standards, your Dodd-Frank and whatever rules that govern, bank liquidity. So yeah, that it's going to take a long time, maybe just to physically get through the courts, or even, the pace at which banks are going to take to get through their backlog and make those non-performing loans performing again. So, I mean, there are still opportunities out there, and I always tell my Pittsburgh area commercial subgroup that I give them the example of a couple of things I've worked on, a couple offers I made recently, and it's about me providing value. It's not just trying to, purchase a property at a price such that it's just, pennies on the dollar. I want to be able to say, okay, well, you need this amount. Well, let's try to find tenants. I'll take over the building and try to provide value or services to help them maximize what they're able to get for their property. So definitely have to try to be creative and identify what the issues are and try to put together solutions that help property owners. If you add value, your business will do well. So.
Okay, perfect. Well, listen, guys, this has been one of the more exciting discussions. It is 2:54 on my clock here on the East Coast, so I do want to shut it down, but I want to give the opportunity for one last question, one last comment, one last anything. So who wants to have the last word before we call it a day for 2 weeks? Anything from Rhoda, James, Jennifer, Patrick, anybody? One last comment, and I think we've got everybody on the screen here.
I think Rhoda raised her hand.
Rhoda, you want to close it out?
Oh, I just want to make sure that James come back to these meetings because I have a lot of stories to tell you. I had a 27-year-long financial services career that began with the sister company to Northwestern Mutual. It was then called the Blue Chip Company. It was Connecticut Mutual Life. And so those were considered the two premier life insurance companies. That began my career with them, and also my career as a journalist because I wrote a Dear Rhoda financial planning column for 21 of those years. So that's how this whole story started. So you and I will talk next time we meet here.
Wow.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, just a reminder for James and everybody, we do this exactly every 2 weeks. So we'll do it on 2 p.m. Eastern in exactly 2 weeks. I will send out a link to the recording on YouTube. I will send out a copy of everything that everybody put on the chat. And thank you all for joining me and the great discussion. And we'll keep it going in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sal.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Oh, actually, Patrick, well, if you can stay around for a couple minutes, I want to talk to you about the review. Oh, maybe he left. Okay.